Disclaimer. This work contains the following: Omori typical spoilers, implied sexual content, drug references, mentions of arson, and the experience of shopping in an Ikea. If any of that upsets you, viewer discretion is advised. Also, full disclosure, neither me nor the author support the burning down or otherwise destruction of government infrastructure. With all that being said, enjoy and have a happy new year. In I Borkenbach by Shard of Hope. We are going to die, Sunny said, sinking into his seat. We are going to perish a horrific death, and nobody will ever know. We will only remain as memories. Not even our bones will survive this. Sunny, I swear to God! Aubrey groaned, hunched behind the wheel of the car. As much as they enjoyed riding on Aubrey's motorcycle, they had jointly decided that a vehicle that had a roof would be prudent to have for the colder months. So, their piece of shit truck was obtained. Well, calling it a piece of shit was a bit unfair. For $500, you couldn't ask more than an engine, 4 tires, and seat belts. All things the car did have. However, that also meant it was older than them by a wide margin, and lacked things that made the ride pleasant. No heat, cracked windows, and a busted radio that left little to do but shiver and talk. Well, except for Sunny, who had bundled up. It isn't nice to swear at Mari. This at least eluded a snort out of his girlfriend. The latest joke around the group was that Mari was some kind of perfect deity. This, of course, was to annoy the shit out of her. They all knew, although the most put together, she was anything but perfect. She was human, despite how she looked in her younger years. Shut up! Aubrey shoved him before quickly throwing an arm around him. This was totally to leech off his body heat and nothing else. It'll be fine. Aubrey, we are tempting the fates with this, and you are well aware of this. Sunny pointed out. Aubrey just rolled her eyes once he started talking about the fates. Sunny could be strangely superstitious when he wanted to be. Also afraid of monochrome figures for some reason. The last time we attempted to buy anything from this cursed place, we all nearly had a mental breakdown. Look. Last time, we had no idea what we were doing, Aubrey countered, squeezing the steering wheel. But we're older and wiser now, by 1 year. 1 year is a lot, she countered, nose upturned, as if trying to put on an air of sage wisdom. Though she sounded a bit more like a Kingdom Hearts villain, but he wasn't gonna say that. We are smarter, wiser, and more cunning than ever before. We can prove that maturity by doing what we couldn't do last time. Put together a piece of furniture from Ikea? Yes! She exclaimed, grin wide on her face. We already mostly did it once. The second time will be easy. Still, why? Well, if you want the honest, less fun answer, you prick, because that sewing desk is for sale 90% off with in-store pickup. And we're both broke. Ah, there was the normal Aubrey. You had worried that she had been norted or taken over by the holiday cheer. Huh. What would yellow eyes look under blue contacts? Valid. And so, they pulled into the parking lot for the first time in their lives, and the sense of unease was instant. How could you think otherwise when a store needed its own parking deck? That was some mall shit right there. The building also unnerved them. They had been told that Ikea was big, sure, but never expected to be as monstrous as it was. There was a point where you're building a capitalistic Tower of Babel, and Ikea was fucking close. I mean, it had to be built outside the city limits because it easily took up 10 full city blocks for a single store. The run from the storefront to the parking deck was made quickly. As the snow was beginning to fall slowly, it also didn't help that both had stripped a few layers to keep from overheating in the store. The coats kept the cold off of them until the wind blew through them like knives. But soon they made their way inside. They brushed off of each other, hoping not to drag the snow in with them. Come on, Basil, I need to try those balls! Kel, I am begging you to stop calling them that! Both paused when they heard that, not only because it was a sexual innuendo and those were funny, but because they knew that voice anywhere. Besides, they had only known a single person named after a herb. Looking over, they saw their friends. Kel, like the freak he was just in his basketball uniform, the cold having very little effect on him. He joked about it being a superpower linked to his asexuality, and Sunny just assumed it was his muscle density. Next to him was a blonde twink with an anxiety complex and a cat sweater. What? I'm just calling you exactly what they are! Balls and Basil! I need those balls inside of me, right now! Kel exclaimed, pointing a finger into the air. Basil, due to the aforementioned anxiety, looked like he wanted to die on the spot. Sunny just tried not to laugh as he watched this play out in front of him. Holy shit, you could not pay for this kind of entertainment. I have a grumbly in my tumbly that only balls can satisfy. Kel, stop tormenting poor Basil. Aubrey cutted with a tired sigh, walking over. She tried not to take satisfaction of the way he nearly jumped out of his skin from the sound of his voice. He looks like he's about to have a panic attack. Fine, it was just a little prank though, a harmless one. Kel reassured. We passed my horticulture teacher a little while ago and Kel screamed about gobbling balls in front of her. Basil murmured, his expression glazed over and distant. I would have failed that exam had I not already taken it. Balls? Kel, if you say balls one more time, I'm going to kick yours into your throat. Aubrey put plainly. If only to keep Basil from having a public meltdown. Kel's jaw closed with a click. Got it. What are you two doing here anyway? Sunny asked, finally getting control of himself enough that Basil wouldn't give him the puppy eyes. Well, I realized that the Ikea has a cafeteria and it's pretty close to fast food, so I need to eat here to add it to my tier list. Kel explained as if this made a perfect amount of sense instead of none at all. I don't get why you decided to rank every restaurant in a city. Aubrey exclaimed. This little project has gone on for a few months now and it was beginning to get on her nerves. Well, for one, I love eating, and a hobby based on eating sounds fun, Kel explained. A tone on his lips would have been better pointed at a slow child than a woman who could murder him. 2, I have this basketball money and nothing to do with it. And 3, all my teammates like to go party every weekend, and I ain't really into it. Besides, I take you all to the good ones. And how many times have you gotten food poisoning? Irrelevant, Kel replied. Now what are you doing here? It's none of your business. Buying a desk for Mari because it's on discount and we're broke. Rubbing Basil's back as he breathed in and out of a paper bag. Sunny just carried them around for this kind of thing. Basil was much more outspoken than he used to be, but public embarrassment was his kryptonite. Sunny! Aubrey fumed. Uh-oh. Perhaps this wasn't the best bet. Then again, her aggressive turn towards him could sometimes end better than you would expect. Hopefully their bed frame would survive, though. Wait, you two are broke? Why didn't you say so? Kel replied with a grin. I got that student-athlete money. Because she's too proud to borrow money from anyone, including Mari. Sunny cut in, just making Aubrey glow hotter as he pointed out this obvious fact out. Also, I think she would rather die than owe me anything. Makes sense. Kel just grinned, unaware of this murderous aura coming off his friend. And I'm just here to see if they have any cute pots on sale. Basil wheezed, finally getting control of himself, although murderous intent glinted in his eyes when he looked at Kel. And maybe some jars. With what money? Aubrey asked, doing anything to not look at Kel right now. I thought you quit that shitty florist job. I did, but my parents preferred money to love, so I have a bit of a war chest. Aubrey quirked her brow at this. That was a change from what he had said before. Sure, he could afford the college without the debt, but just the schooling. Everything else was on his shoulders. Where was this little shit getting money? Besides, I don't want Kel getting banned from another department store. That was one time! Kel exclaimed, throwing his hands up in frustration. Kel, you poured out so much generic soda on the floor that she turned an entire beverage aisle into a slip and slide. Aubrey exclaimed, rubbing her temples. Oh, the headache was already beginning. In his defense, it was a Walmart. Sunny said with a shrug, and one of the employees called him a slur. I think it was fair play. Sunny, how do you know what happened? Sunny froze as Aubrey fixed her gaze on him. Ah, fuck that had slipped out. Oh, he was there. Kel explained with a wave of his hand. He just watched the entire time. The only reason I got caught is because he tripped me when we were running out of the store. He paused. Hey, Sunny, why did you do that? Was getting tired. I thought you could juke the security guard better than me. I didn't see the display case of barbecue sauce. Fair dues. Basil leaned in closer to Aubrey as the other boys bantered. I also came in because this place is ADHD poison, he whispered, catching her attention. You have to go to the entire store to get to the checkout or the furniture. I figured it would be best not to let Kel wander in there on his own. Aubrey sighed. That is a smart call. As funny as it would be to see him getting arrested again, I don't think Mari's heart could take it. Hopefully, this would be a breeze. I can't look away. Aubrey's head snapped towards the sound. They had all just started the trek through the living rooms, and she had lost all the dipshits instantly. How the hell had those three managed to sneak away from here was a mystery, as all had the subtlety of a bull in a china shop. And not like she could talk, but Kel was part of the group, and he could never shut up around Sunny. However, this was Basil's voice. Holy shit, I thought I was hallucinating, but you're seeing this too? Kel spoke next, flabbergasted. Kel, being Kel, was very easy to confuse, so she didn't think much about it. Are you okay, Sunny? You're shaking. Leaping over coffee tables and dodging confused white people. She would let Kel die, and she would make sure Basil got medical attention. When she got sight of them, Sunny was, in fact, shaking. She ran up from behind, out of breath, and holding a ruler that she had gotten from an impulse buy kiosk like a bat. What is going on? She stared at the monster in front of her. Her brain sparked in recognition when she took in the colors. She was bisexual after all. But that wasn't what activated her neurons. Neither was the ominous, judgy phrase written along the back. No, it was the fact that it was covered in bisexual colored hands. What in the absolute fuck? I know, right? That has got to be the ugliest, angriest couch I had ever seen. He gestured to the right half before whispering to Basil. Nobody believes you. The blonde, being a disaster bisexual himself, just laughed. Hard. He couldn't stop himself, although Aubrey was a bit worried of the manic tone underlying the hysteria. How long had Kel been messing with Basil? She rolled her eyes, slowly shepherding him all towards the next section. Sunny, for his most part, had a vacant expression in his eyes, kept on muttering something about his dreams and an awful sick feeling. But he was an artist and he did shit like this all the time. Besides, they had much to do today. Okay. I had found someone who works here. Turns out the desk is at the end of the store. So we gotta walk our asses through 2 stories of this shit. I mean, that isn't so bad. Basil said with a smile, swinging his legs as he sat upon the storage container. Why living room storage had an entire section to itself, Aubrey would never know. But Sunny just nodded along. It's sort of nice seeing all the little displays. Of course you would like all this kitschy shit. Aubrey muttered. Something was going on, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Both the boys looked a bit smug. Okay, they were holding hands, but that was a bit normal. What is it? Wait a minute. Where is Kel? I told you all to wait right here. And you thought Kel would listen in any universe? Basil asked sweetly, eyebrows slowly raising to unseen heights. She supposed he had a point. She should have known better. Ah, fuck. I'll go look for him. You two! She was interrupted by an odd noise. Wait, what was that? What was what? Basil asked, legs swinging as they sat on the fancy cedar trunk. Sunny just quirked his head to the side as Basil's heels impacted the wood. Aubrey squinted as if this would make her hear better, but there it was again. It sounds like a bumping? Well, I don't hear it. Aubrey squinted harder. Something about his tone told her that he was a fucking liar. There it was again. And then she heard the equally muffled voice asking to be let out. From the trunk. Basil? Yes, Aubrey? How long has Kel been in there? Well, Aubrey, I have no idea what you're talking about, Basil reassured. I mean, I would never bet Kel $5 that he couldn't fit into this trunk, or sit on it after he did so. I mean, he would have to be messing with me all day for me to want to do that. Certainly not. Aubrey paused for a moment. What the fuck was going on today? Basil could be petty, but this was something else. This was just straight up malice. Like a nasty act of revenge. She had never been more proud in her whole life. The hooligan life was beginning to rub off on him. You know what, Basil? You're right. Aubrey said with a clap of her hands. Nobody would be dumb enough to fall for that. Not even Kel. So why don't we take a little break, and then check the inside of the trunk before we go? Basil and Sunny grinned at this and scooted over. The muffled bumps only got louder. Sunny? No.
But,
No! She thought the kitchen section would be a breeze for these chuckle fucks. She thought they could just wander through and get out of there before they did anything to increase her blood pressure. She was wrong, of course. Not for any of the reasons that she could have predicted. Because Basil had to stop to get his jars, and they ended up browsing as he looked through all the designs. Because of that, they had to come across temptation. Ikea was a store built upon temptation. The entire reason they made you walk through the entire store like this was to get you to impulse buy shit. Being the constantly broke bitch she was, Aubrey could stave off this temptation. Sunny could not. They were currently sitting in an area the size of a room, where every single surface was dedicated to knives. Kitchen knives, paring knives, steak knives, cheese knives. If they had a knife to stab a specific substance, they had it here. And of course, her boyfriend was obsessed with knives. So while they waited for Basil to come back, Kel had been sent to fetch him, but it had been a bit. She had to keep him from spending what little money they had. But I want a nice knife, Sunny said with a pout, eyes lusting after the cold steel in the only way an emo could. Hero won't let me use his anymore, because Hero is trained to use them, where you aren't. Aubrey put it bluntly. And they're sharp as fuck, remember? Sunny winced at that memory, rubbing the scar from where he had managed to cut off his entire pinky. It had reattached fine, and he could even feel it a bit now. But it was not a fun memory. Thank God it was the left useless one. I've grown since then. It was half a year ago. Come on! Whipping out the big, dewy eyes, Aubrey just turned around and continued to talk to him. Sunny, we are broke. It's an investment. In what? Well, if I have a nice Japanese knife set, then I'll learn to cook. Sunny nodded in victory. Surely this flawless logic will allow him to obtain the knife set he lusted after. Besides, good knives lasted forever, and $500 wasn't that much. You don't cook, Aubrey spoke bluntly, stabbing Sunny with her harsh words. You never cooked, and you're actively awful at it. Imagine how good I could cook with a proper knife, Sunny offered, running out of steam. Okay, I got nothing. You done? I guess. Sunny sighed, looking longingly at the beauties behind glass. It wasn't fair he was denied the pleasure of sharp weapons. Tell me about it, Aubrey sighed. Bunny food keeps going up in price. And groceries. And gas. And rent. Sunny paused. We should just burn it down. Just burn down every bank. Death to capitalism. Sunny, are you suggesting we commit domestic terrorism together? Only the anti-capitalistic kind. Every day, just confirmed her that she loved this thin little depressed man. Every moment spent with him was bliss, and it was moments like these that delighted her. It was always a small little thing that gave her warm fuzzies, a nice cuddle at the end of a long day, a little compliment that saved her self-esteem when she felt a bit mannish from her muscle mass, or a bit too chubby during the cold months, a cup of tea when she came home. They delighted and thrilled her. But just something about bombing a bank revved her engines. You know, if you keep talking sweet to me, I may be tempted to skip all this and take you home, she purred. She enjoyed the way he tensed up as she hugged him from behind, pressing her chest into his back. Red was such a pretty color on his cheeks, and he was already a very pretty boy. A girl can only be tempted so much. She could feel a wheeze escape his body as she smirked. It took a few lessons, but she was starting to get as good as teasing him as he was at teasing her. Mari was a lifesaver. I love you, Sunny muttered, leaning back into the taller girl, relaxing. Love you too, Sunbun. Save it for home, you saps, Kel quipped, but neither made a move. They looked lazily in his direction. He had a cart now, one that Basil was currently sitting at the edge of, being pushed around like the little prince he was. The set of cast iron pans and 4 dozen small jars with simple flowers planted on the surface weighted down enough that it wouldn't tip over. I got an idea. Well, don't hurt yourself. Love you too, Obs. Kel crooned. None of us have got anything for my bro yet. Why don't we split all these pans and call it a group gift? He doesn't have cast iron pans. Mom stole them. Yeah, sure. Works for me. How much are they? Turns out, good cast iron costs money. 7 out of 10. Sunny spoke with a finality from where he lay, and Cal nodded as he jotted it down. Aubrey, of course, was just watching this without much comment, just rolling her eyes. Basil, for his part, had no idea what's going on. He watched as Sunny moved onto the next bed, lying down. What is this, Aubrey? Sunny has his entire bed rating system. Aubrey spoke with a long, suffering sigh. It has multiple categories, even. 5 out of 10. Sunny got up. His face pensive as he moved along, Cal followed him intently. Where he had found a clipboard, Aubrey didn't really want to think too much about, cause stealing one from an employee was too cool for a nerd like Cal. And why is he doing this to every bed we see? Because we've been needing a mattress, and I've been putting that shit off as long as possible. Wincing at the thought of another expense, because I gotta deal with this shit this entire time. That doesn't seem too bad. Basil muttered, something else in those words that Aubrey couldn't place. It doesn't at first, although he is really damn good at finding a mattress. But he's just so damn picky. Like, it can take days for him to find something he likes. It took us 3 weeks and 12 stores to find that stupid gamer chair that he uses for his art setup. Well, at least you have someone to share your bed with. Aubrey looked at him, raising a brow. Jesus Christ, Basil, are you trying to sound like an incel? Fuck off, Aubrey, he muttered darkly, but a strong hand on the shoulder kept him from stomping away. I was just busting your balls, dude. She turned his twink ass around and looked him dead in the eyes. You want to talk about it? No. Aubrey didn't budge at this. She just stared him deep into the eyes, waiting for him to crack. Basil and Sunny had become such good friends based on their bitching, after all. Besides, she could see him twitching to pour the tea. I don't want to be a bother. You are never a bother. Look, I don't mind being single, ready to mingle. The semester has been intense, and I haven't thought about it all that much, but... And then he just started pouring it out. Basil was never the best at keeping this shit bottled in. After all, he practically buzzed with low-level anxiety at all times. But I still get lonely, you know? And it's not easy on our house. Huh? Well, I mean, you know. Basil paused, apparently thinking better of something. Never mind. Nope. I don't spill, or I will eat your roses. Stop doing that! Not my fault you got me addicted to rose-flavored things. Flavor, not the damn... Basil stopped, glaring at her. You're cranking me up on purpose, aren't you? Maybe. Aubrey grinned back. It's almost like you never say anything that you're afraid might hurt us unless you're all cranked up. God damn it. I hate that we're best friends sometimes. Basil groaned, winging. Well, it's not like we can complete with a platonic bromance that Cal and Sunny got going on. Don't remind me. Basil muttered again, bitterness seeping into his words. Okay, she was not gonna let this shit stand. Basil would just let it stew for way too long and then explode. Or be a bitter little shit about it for months while insisting that he was fine. Look, just fucking tell me, dude, or I'm gonna tell Sunny about the hoodie. You promised you would keep that to yourself! Basil's steely gaze turned towards her, but she just grinned. She knew an empty threat when she saw one. I did, but I'm also a deviant, a hooligan, and criminal. Do you think I'm above being a liar? Allowing the words to hang in the air for a moment. So, tell me what has your panties in a twist. I'm just lonely, is all. Basil spoke. His hackles failing as he gave the illusion that he was in any way threatening. I mean, I have all you guys, and I love it. I have a happy, full home, and I have, like, a family. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. But... Look, I don't know how to say this without being a selfish cunt. Then be selfish. Aubrey rolled her eyes. Lord knows the rest of us are. Being selfish is human, dude. The only shitty part is that if it's like, all the time. The fact you're aware makes you better than most. Fine. I saw everyone I've ever felt a spark towards pair off, or I learned that there was never a chance. He spoke, letting something that had been festering for years breathe for the first time. I want to be happy for you all, I really do, but when I'm lying down, alone, in my bed, I can't help but feel bitter. I'm surrounded by perfect couples without a single prospect for myself. Aubrey gritted her teeth. Fuck. Fuck, how did she not notice what this little shit was feeling? He said he was being selfish, but she understood exactly where he was coming from. Just the thought of living in the house. But Sunny was with Basil set her on edge. How long could she sit there without saying a thing? She struggled to find something to say, so she leaned in on what she knew. Profanity. Fuck. That sucks. It does. But his thought seemed to lift as he let out something he had carried for a long time. I guess I should have done something about it, huh? Instead of festering in envy. Sorry I stole Sunny. Aubrey apologized, but she had no idea why. But it just felt right. Sunny's attachment to Basil had always been obvious. Kel was his best friend, but there was something special between the two quiet boys. And she just stepped right into that role. Basil laughed, not a sardonic little sound, a genuine one that came bursting out of him in undignified pig-like snorts. It was something she realized she had not heard in a few months. What's so funny? Nothing. It's just funny that you assume I was only interested in Sunny. Before she could respond to that, or even process it, a hand was leading her away with surprising strength. Hey! She looked down at Sunny. The boy was dragging her like his life depended on it. What's so important? Sunny just kept walking until they came right to the target of his fascination. A mattress. A huge one. With a cat print comforter. Kel was lying on the bed, looking up at Sunny. You're so right. It's insane. Right about what? Aubrey asked, growing annoyed. In response, she'd been handed a slip of paper with a long list of numbers and names on it. But the current bed they stood in front of was a 10 out of 10. Are you... Sunny, we just put in an order for a new mattress last week. The fee to cancel it would be... Sunny, while she ranted, just shot Kel a look. With a deft movement, Kel rolled off the bed, and Sunny, with an apologetic look, pushed Aubrey over. Said woman squawked as she went down. Her ire had grown intensely with her patience, so she was about to raise for a fight, but couldn't manage to. Why? Because this is the most comfortable fucking bed she had ever laid on. Oh, fuck, she moaned, sinking into the bed. Sunny, for a thorough inspection, soon joined her, hugging her back. Kel muttered something about backpacks as he laughed to himself. Yep, still perfect. Fuck that other bed. This one is perfect. Everyone had assumed that they would be able to get to the kids section with ease. They were adults, for God's sake. So what should have happened is that they should have been able to walk on through without buying anything else. Aubrey was already feeling that ache in her pocket. She was buying a whole new bed set. How the hell could she buy yet another damn thing? At least she only had to show them a slip of paper at the counter, and they would bring it out to her. And then they saw the plushies. Oh my god, look at his little face! Aubrey squealed as Sunny grinned back. The bunny in her hands looked absurdly pissed off. Plush eyebrows furled with hate and irritation. He's so angry. Lasagna. Sunny replied, holding up a cat that he'd fished out the discount bin. The orange cat was indeed overstuffed to shit, bursting at the seams even. Except it looked just as pissed off as the bunny in her hands. Maybe he was mad about the copyright lawsuits that he would be the subject of. Basil, look! Kel held up another strange plush. The soft cactus was sitting inside a velvet pot, grinning happily. Each one of its thorns was a harmless little plastic nub. Look at his little guy! Can you even afford this? Basil said with a sigh. Somehow, he was the only one not falling for this absolutely childish shit. The man who still wore froggy overalls. Didn't you all want to save? I got that student-athlete money. Kel shrugged with a grin. Besides, I promised Chris to get them that shark if I saw it. Oh, there it is. And there he went. Basil rolled his eyes as he watched the other two fawn over the stuffies. He supposed he could be the voice of reason here. And then he saw him. The bear was sitting on the nearby chest, drooping over itself slightly. He was a teddy bear like plenty of the others. But that was not what drew the eye. No, it was the fact that he was huge. Basil doubted he could even reach around the damn thing. And yet, his head was tiny, a melancholy expression stitched into the gentle giant. Oh my god, he is perfect! Aubrey grumbled as she stood in line yet again at the cafe. Their cart was getting full. She had wanted to skip this entirely, however, Sunny's stomach had grumbled, and Kel had offered to pay. To her surprise, she currently held his card within her hands. The temptation to do a bit of online shopping was absurdly high. I mean, it served the bastard right for borrowing so much money. But she restrained herself. Somehow she had been sent back up to get the dessert and 2 more servings for the athlete. Considering his appetite it tracked. Much to her annoyance though, the food here was actually pretty good. It was filling at the least, and it warmed her up inside like nothing else. As she stacked her tray and filled it to the brim with cheap food, she heard a gasp. Looking up, she saw someone she had not expected to see here. Natasha? You would think hitting on someone's boyfriend would get you onto their shit list. Natasha, after all, had asked Sunny out at uni without knowing he was taken. Aubrey thought she would react rather violently to that sort of thing. However, watching her turn down and then introduce you as his girlfriend sorta made up for it. Still, Aubrey wondered if Sunny was blind. Natasha was an exchange student who had just came over recently, if her thick Russian accent was anything to go by, because it was very unlikely that would be the first thing you'd notice. More likely you'd seen her neon green cropped hair, or perhaps her sleeves of tattooed bear and wolf bones, or the fact she stood in an easy 6'3", towering over you. Aubrey noticed her for her muscles and her own bisexual awakening, something that Sunny teased her endlessly about. What the hell are you doing here? The punk was currently dressed in her uniform, her hair hidden by a hat as she seemed to shrink in front of Aubrey. The two had become fast friends, and workout buddies for the past few months. Natasha helped her with weightlifting, and Aubrey helped her with cardio, something she frankly sucked at. So it was very strange to see someone who once choked out a mug look so embarrassed. Role-playing, what does it look like? Aubrey tried not to laugh as she saw the big woman flush. I have to eat, and Americans are too stupid to know a Swedish accent from a Russian one. I ain't gonna give you shit for working, dude. It was just a surprise is all. Look at it from my side. Why the hell are you here? She asked, quickly ringing her friend up, considering she was the last in line. They had some time to shoot the shit before more hurry souls kept her busy. Christmas shopping with my boy? She jerked her thumb back. Natasha looked over and nodded, and then froze. Aubrey knew that look. It was the same one she gave to Sunny before she shot her shot and miss. What? Who is friend? The tall one? I don't think that... No, not that one. The tiny blonde one. One with blue eyes. Aubrey blinked. Oh, well, why would she be surprised? If she had a thing for Sunny, then Basil might be right up her wheelhouse. They had talked about their love of small, soft boys before, and Basil was that wrapped up in a short king package. Aubrey grinned voraciously. If her assumption about Basil's tastes were correct, then, well, she was doing him a massive favor. Time to play wing woman. Oh, that, my good friend, is Basil. The poor boy is painfully single. Soon enough, Aubrey was back. What took you so long? Kel asked before shoving food into his gullet without waiting for an answer. Aubrey just rolled his eyes back and placed a slice of cake she and Sunny were splitting out of the splash range. Basil, however, noticed that his slice was missing. Hey, where's my cake? I got you something better. Aubrey replied before handing him a slip of paper. Basil just stared at her before unfolding it. Inside was a phone number and a kiss mark from the darkest shade of purple he had ever seen in lipstick. She jerked her hand behind her, and his eyes followed. When Natasha knew she had his eyes, she grinned. The predatory expression was followed up by a miming of a phone next to her ear and the silent mouthed words of "call me." Basil slowly looked back at Aubrey, his entire face aflame. Aubrey savored the moment and the chocolate cake. She swallowed it, dabbed her lips, and a directed grin at her friend. Don't ever say I've never done anything for you. Sunny stared as his friend continued to talk, unrelenting. It was rare to see Basil angry. After all, he was a softie and a people-pleaser, so he would do anything in his power to make everyone happy if he could. Yet, here he was, ripping some dude a new one. Sunny had no idea who this guy was, and honestly, he didn't care. That greasy sheen on his skin, the drooped eyes, and the smell wafting strong enough for him to smell 5 feet away was another thing. He had been asking to find Basil after he left him talking to his friend to wander around. But it was time to get a move on. There was only so long you could distract Kel with plates before he began to wonder how nice they would fly when you threw them. Basil, please! Shut your fucking trap! Basil cut back, cold as ice. Let's go over all the ways you fucked up today, okay? The man seemed to freeze as Basil stared deeply into his soul. First of all, you approached me outside of the agreed way to communicate with me. Strike 1. The second strike is that you're 2 days late on your payment. The greenback's crumpling in his anger. And then you tried to short me. You didn't think I wouldn't count? Do you think I'm that stupid? No, of course not. The tall man seemed to cower in Basil's presence and anger. I just made a mistake is all. I misremembered how much I owe. I think it's a bit hard to forget $100 from a $500 tab. One, I would remind you, I don't charge any interest. Yet here you are, a week late and $100 short. Basil fumed, jabbing his finger into his chest, taking advantage of my understanding and my generosity, while insulting my intelligence. Look, I know I'm a bit short. So you knew? But I get paid on Friday. I could pay you back, plus extra. Promise. Basil vouched for a moment, before sighing in irritation. The only reason I sell to you is because your ex vouched for her, who, despite how much you seem to whine about her, pays up front with cash. Yet every time I deliver to you, I have to chase you around for it. This is the last time. Do you understand me? Yes, of course. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry yet, Basil replied, tilting his nose up. Be sorry for what happens when I get Aubrey involved. This piqued Sunny's interest. Huh? You know, Aubrey, the punk that carries around a bat even out of season. The one that could easily break all the bones in your bodies with a single hand swing. That Aubrey? You're bluffing. He's not. Sunny strode in. If there was one thing that Sunny knew how to do, besides sleep, eat, and stare at Aubrey with devotation, it was how to commit to a bit. After all, I'm dating her, and she's been friends with Basil for almost 10 years. But since Basil is being so kind, maybe we could use the employee discount, huh? Tall man nodded quickly, taking off his beanie and rummaging around in it for a notepad, quickly jotting down his employee ID. Of course, thank you so much for the extra time. I swear, I'll pay you back on Friday. And with that, the stoner beat a hasty retreat. Sunny simply looked over to Basil, who looked like he was about to cry. Basil, are you selling weed? Don't tell Mari! Basil was already on his knees, gripping Sunny's leg for dear life at the panic. She'll kill me, or throw me out, or both! I swear it isn't as bad as it sounds! Basil, you sell weed. It's legal to grow with my medical card. Sunny blinked. Huh? He had no idea. Then again, that may explain the slight improvement to his anxiety some weekends, and why he raided the fridge with violent intent. And I only sell to other people with medical cards. Sunny pretended he was considering it, but decided it would be too mean and help Basil up. Relax, I don't care. But I caught Mari and Hiro smoking when I was 14. What else is there to do in a small town like Far Away? Sunny replied with a sneaky grin. The look on Basil's face as he imagined Mari smoking the dank was priceless. Well worth breaking his promise never to spill the beans. But I can keep my mouth shut about you using Aubrey as muscle without her knowing. Oh, thank you. If you share. Basil looked at Sunny for a moment. He weighed the options. On one hand, Sunny was blackmailing him. On the other hand, it would be nice to have a smoking buddy. Or buddies. He doubted Aubrey would touch this stuff with her family history, but she would stick around to watch. I don't have much of a choice, do I? Not if you value your kneecaps. You getting tired, chump? In your dreams, Kel. I can beat you at any day of the week. Sunny and Basil just shared an eye roll. They thought the blanket section would be a pass-through. They can make up some time and get out of here without anything else going on. Then Kel started teasing Aubrey about her lack of gym gains, and then he said that Aubrey couldn't even pick up Sunny. Kel didn't want to get left out of the boy bench pressing contest. Both said boys who didn't want to be bench pressed for the sake of a dick measuring contest didn't have much choice in the matter. After all, when you get wrapped up in a blanket burrito, you have little control over what happens to you. Think they're gonna let us out anytime soon? Basil asked the blushing Sunny. Damn, Aubrey was strong. God, I hope not. Aubrey? Aubrey, stop. Come on. No. Please. Kel, shut the fuck up before I plant a boot so far up your ass you'll taste mud for a week. They managed to push past the other sections without a hitch. Then again, the bathrooms and lightings were not all too interesting. They had already had a stuffed cart, as she liked the way Sunny looked wrapped in that blanket. They had already burned enough cash, Kel included, with how much the dumb fuck ate. And she was not letting him put that thing in their house. Well, fine. I'm going to carry it and buy it myself. Good luck, shitlord. Aubrey glared at the massive painting that Kel was currently carrying. He had to stretch his arms wide to carry the long frame print, but that was not why Aubrey felt like her brain was going to burst. No, that because it was Starry Night. A common enough Van Gogh print, but included with 7 orange Joes into the mix. The Silver Night had been changed to an orange and brown sludge pit. Every part of her recoiled in disgust. Oh, come on. Kel spoke from behind the painting, blocking his vision, bumping into yet another shelf. What do you think, Basil? I think Mara's gonna find an excuse to spill red paint on it the moment you look away. Basil didn't even want to look at it. The color and patterns made his head ache. She spills red paint a lot, huh? She did, in fact, do it a lot. Kel, being the happy-go-lucky magpie he was, somehow always came back from the thrift store with the ugliest or filthiest shit. Thankfully, with a bad knee and an artist's brother, there were plenty of excuses to accidentally destroy things. That's not a nice thing to say, though. Sunny? I think whoever made it should be taken out back behind a barn and shot. None of you have any taste in art. Nobody helped him as he tripped over an ottoman and ate the most massive pile of shit on his way down. I'm okay. It was the one bit of good luck any of the others had had all day. That's the last of it. Aubrey sighed as they admired their work. In their small backyard, they had a shed where they would hide the discounted selling desk, along with the rest of the gifts from Mari and Hero under a tarp that they had been worried that they had been caught in the act. But it seemed like the Hero Moonbeal was gone, so they had all the time in the world. Sunny, for his part, was eyeing a hatch to a small basement they never used. He could hear the faint hum of glow lights, and if he stood close enough to it, he could feel a bit of heat and a hint of skunk. Basil, for his part, stared Sunny down before he could open his mouth. You got a good deal on the desk, Aubrey. Kel smoothed a hand over the slightly worn desk, already put together and ready to go. And not on anything else. Aubrey replied, shooting Basil a look as he hid behind the teddy bear he was currently holding. Basil murmured, leaving the jars next to the trapdoor. He would use them later for harvest. That's when they heard the scream from inside. It was absurdly loud, so it made them all jump from their skins. Aubrey's brow furrowed. Nobody should be home right now. Wait, no. Shiba's car was at the shop. Bun! Before anyone could say anything, Aubrey ran past her truck, and through the sliding glass door open. She tore down the hallway, following the noise. All she could see was red, and all she wanted to do was kill. It had been far too long she had gotten a proper fight after all, and she was going to Castle Doctrine the fuck out of someone. That is not the scene she came across, however. Let me go, Hero! It deserves to die! Mari screamed, rage consuming every bit of her face as Hero held her around the waist, dragging her back. In her hands was an all too familiar bat, and as soon as the doors opened, Bun and Nub fled out of the room, cause they were smart. It's just a drafting desk, no reason to get upset! Hero attempted to reason with her, trying not to look at the massive desk, or how the flat surface swung freely, like it was not meant to. Upset? Upset? Mari screamed, swinging her bat in the air. Her voice left out an undignified crack in the moment. We've been trying to fix it for 7 hours! Nothing works! First, we didn't have the tools. Second, we didn't put it together right. And now we can't get the thing to stop spinning like a fucking top! I'm done! It needs to die! Aubrey just stood there, stunned. She'd never seen Mari like this, and she was having a hard time processing it. That was until she saw an empty box, with an Ikea logo. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Completely justified. She knew how that kind of thing went. What is going on? Sunny asked, the 2 shaking bunnies squatting on his shoulder. He then took in the scene. His sister's anger, Hero's desperation at keeping her from smashing all their hard work, and the loose desk, and nodded. Yep, this made total sense. He went to step inside the room and felt something under his foot. Kneeling down to pick it up, he examined it. It was a fine metal peg. Smooth and seamless. He looked over in it as light as Kel and Basil came into the house. Basil hiding behind this plush, and Kel wielding a basketball like in the old days. They both joined in Aubrey watching this rare sight as Sunny stepped up to the drafting desk. It was one of the nice ones, made out of hardwood. 2 posts, a screw there to help it pivot, and a little block of wood to help keep papers from falling out. Normally they would have a knob to tighten it to keep it in place, but it seems like this one didn't work like that. Checking where the easel met the post, he found 3 arches in the wood, with many holes drilled into it. Each one had a degree next to it, and there were tons of them to choose from. Sunny simply put the steel peg in the 45-degree hole and brought the Estelle down on it. He could hear a little magnet click, holding the desk firmly in place. He found the other peg next to the floor of the new drafting desk and put it in. Wow, this is a nice drafting desk, Sunny exclaimed, setting his rabbits down on the bed. Mari, for her part, just stood there frozen. The bat hung over her head as Hero slowly backed away from her. She slowly relaxed, the bat going limp in her hand. She slowly looked over to the crowd that was watching her. She thought about how she had lectured him about reading directions, about patience, and about doing things the right way after the last time. Not too serious, of course, but to embarrass them all like a good sister should. She thought about how they'd been acting smug about the whole thing, and how she looked. "None of you are gonna let me leave this town, are you?" she whispered, horrified. Sunny approached her, clasping her on the shoulders with the biggest grin she had ever seen in years. "Not on your life." She groaned as the rest of the kids began to chant. She wasn't surprised when Hiro joined in, considering the hell they had just gone through. She limply accepted the hug from her brother and spoke the words that came straight from the heart. "Fuck you, little brother." "I love you too, sis." Seeing his older sister embarrass herself, a drafting desk, and free weed. Best Christmas ever.